Welcome to week 8 of Bible Studies for Life. It's Easter Sunday week. What a great week this is. I hope you're excited about it as I am. Looking forward to it. I know every Sunday's Resurrection Sunday, but man, Easter Sunday is always great every year when it comes around. And so we're looking forward to that. We're going to be in John chapter 20. So we continue in the Gospel of John and find this great story about Jesus, that this is it, right? This is the gospel right here. Before we look at that, be sure and subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button. Like the video. Appreciate it if you'll do that. If you have a comment or a question or just want to say Happy Easter, tell us where you're watching from, where you're spending your Easter Sunday, and be sure and share the video with somebody else. Okay, if you want to support our ministry, go to give.exposedtochrist.com. Let's look at John chapter 20. On the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early. Okay, we are past the crucifixion, right? So now we're on the first day of the week. All the Gospels are clear. This is a Sunday morning when this happens. She came to the tomb early while it was still dark. She saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she went running to Simon Peter and to the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said to them, "They've taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they've put him." So Mary Magdalene shows up, and she says the stone is rolled away, and she goes running to Peter. Okay, clearly she must have gone in and looked, because to the other disciple, that's John, right, the one Jesus loved, that's how he refers to himself. And she says, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb. We don't know where they put him," because this is the obvious conclusion, right? The stone has been rolled away. It's rolled up a hill. It's a large stone that covers the entrance, probably weighs 2 tons. It's rolled down a hill, put into place. It's rolled back up the hill. It's set into place up the hill. The stone is rolled away. She goes and looks in. The body's missing. Clearly, they've taken his body. Right? This is the assumption that you make, because what other thing would you assume? Right? This is what, one of the things we make clear throughout this, the narratives, is they make very clear that Jesus died, that he was dead, that he was in a tomb dead. That's very clear. There's no dispute about that. The Jews don't dispute that. The Romans don't dispute that. Everybody knows Jesus has died and he's been laid in a tomb, right? So she comes and she finds Peter and John and tells them he's gone, right? Okay, now look, we just skipped from verse 2 to verse 11. What am I going to tell you? Yes, read the whole thing, okay? John and Peter have run to the tomb and looked. Others have come now. Mary, here's Mary, stood outside the tomb crying. As she was crying, she stooped to look into the tomb. And she saw 2 angels in white sitting where Jesus' body had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. And they said to her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "Well, because they've taken away my Lord," she told them, "and I don't know where they've put him." Okay. She has the same assumption here of Mary Magdalene, right? Mary Magdalene says they've taken the Lord and we don't know where they put him. And her statement is the same. They've taken him away and we don't know where they put him, right? This is the obvious thing you would assume, right? This is what else could you say, right? Now what's different for her is she's got these 2 angels in white sitting there where Jesus' body is, right? And it's kind of odd, I guess. Maybe she doesn't realize what she's looking at or what's going on, but she's like, "Why are you crying?" And, well, clearly they've taken his body. Don't you know that? And having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know it was Jesus. "Woman," Jesus said to her, "why are you crying? Who is it that you're seeking?" Okay, this is the second time she's been asked, first by the 2 angels, now by Jesus. "Who is it that you're seeking?" Supposing he was the gardener, she replied, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've put him, and I will take him away." She doesn't recognize him, right? She doesn't know it's Jesus. So she says, "Well, if you've taken him, tell me," right? And Jesus said to her, "Mary." Turning around, she said to him in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. She speaks to him, she turns and he calls her name, Mary. And she recognizes that voice that called her name. It reminds me of Jesus talking about his sheep, and the sheep know name. They know my voice, right? When I call them, they respond to my voice. I call them by name. She calls him Rabboni, teacher. She knows who he is. Immediately in that moment, right? She hears that tender voice call to her in the depths of her. I can't imagine the hurt and the pain. Don't cling to me, Jesus told her, since I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and tell them that I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and to your God. And Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, I've seen the Lord, and she told them what he had said to her. So here is this journey of Mary Magdalene, right? We start here. First day of the week, Mary Magdalene shows up, says I don't know where they've taken her, and she comes back now. She's at the tomb. She's there crying. There's angels in there. Why are you crying? Well, they've taken him, and I don't know where they put him. I don't know where he is, right? And then Jesus shows up. And Jesus, why are you crying, right? Who are you looking for? And she's like, if you took him, tell me, where is he? And then he calls her by name, and she recognizes who he is immediately. And then he says, I have not yet ascended. Go to my brothers. Tell them that I am ascending to my Father. Look, this is important, right? To my Father and to your Father. To my God and to your God. You hear this? Jesus, in his glorified existence, resurrected body, is saying to Mary Magdalene, a woman who we know has a terrible history, right? And yet has become a follower of Jesus. He's saying to her, he's my Father and he's your Father. He's my God and he's your God. And she went to the disciples, I have seen the Lord. And she told them what they had said to her. I have seen the Lord. Man, we go back here and we see this, right? Here, she's crying, right? Here, she's crying. And now here, she is running, telling her friends, her disciple friends, I've seen the Lord. What a change happens in her life, right? And what an amazing thing when Jesus comes in power. Jesus comes with authority. Jesus comes as the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. Jesus also comes to us in tenderness. And he comes to us in graciousness and with gentleness. He comes. And he speaks our name. He calls you by name. He loves you. And he deals with you, and he raises us up from the mire of clay, right? He raises us up to be with him, to be children of God, so that his Father is our Father and his God is our God, that we have this place that we don't deserve, that we haven't earned, and he puts us in this place because he is the resurrected Lord. And so maybe part of the lesson for this week is not just that Jesus is risen from the dead, but the Jesus that rose from the dead, who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, is your friend who loves you and who cares for you and who is compassionate towards you and will be gentle to you and will help you get to the place out of crying into joy, who will take you from mourning into unreserved happiness, exaltation, gladness. That's who our Jesus is. That's the resurrected Jesus who we love. Hey, I hope that's helped. Thanks for watching this week. Appreciate you being a part of this group that watches every week. Many of you do that. If you haven't already, be sure you subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, give us a comment, share the video with somebody else. Have a great Easter Sunday. We'll see you next week.